From time to time, just traveling to an abandoned mine is half the adventure. On this episode of Abandoned and Forgotten Places, I take you to one of the most difficult sites I have ever driven to with my trusty Jeep, Old Bob. Hours of climbing over rocks and boulders and sometimes even dried up waterfalls led me to this rare and unexpected find. Because of its incredible remoteness, I found some interesting machinery still left in place by the miners themselves and spared from a remaining lifetime in someone's rock garden. With its head frame long gone, wood scavenged for use at other mines in the area or just simply decomposed by the ravages of time, this mine brought its ore up via a 400-foot vertical shaft and was hauled off by trucks to be processed at local mills. Many mines, such as this, have no remaining public records, but after finding parts and pieces of Model A's and Model T's in the immediate area, my best guess is these mines were in production sometime around 1929. You just never know what you'll find exploring the desert Southwest, so today, come along with me as I explore some of western Arizona's most remote and hidden abandoned mines. Alright guys, take a look at this. Now, in some of these locations, they're just so darn remote that after the miners got done doing what they were doing, they didn't bother taking the equipment out of some of these sites, and this is one of those locations. It took us probably 3 hours to get to this site this morning, and here we have ourselves a compressor. That's what's going on right here, and you can see the compressor pipe coming out the back, and that would go down over here to where the vertical shaft is. Now, I was looking this over earlier, and what was going on here was this is a belt-driven flywheel, okay? So as that's turning around and around with the belt, you can see here this arm is offset on that wheel, and that's what allowed this to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, pumping the piston that's up inside here, creating the pressure of which then it goes out the tube and then down into the mine. But the real interesting thing about this is how they lined this up. So this flywheel, if you go right down the line of sight, is perfectly in line with this wheel right here. See that? So you can imagine that big leather belt stretched between the two, turning and turning and spinning that compressor. Now this over here, this was your primary engine. The piston is gone, the boiler is gone, the water tank that supported the boiler is still in place, okay? But this was your primary. So this engine ran this flywheel, which ran the belt to that compressor, compressed air down into the mine for all the miners' drills. And that's how this worked. Now take a look at this. Now someone came in here probably hunting for souvenirs. I don't know, I'm just guessing. But they took off the caps for the crank right here. But you can still, if you look closely here, check this out. You can still see the bushings that ran between here and the crankshaft. See those bushings? Now, if I'm not mistaken, those bushings are made out of copper. And that's probably why they popped this off, so that they could retrieve that solid copper bushing. If I'm mistaken, let me know down there in the comments section. If I'm wrong, let me know. I do believe that is a copper bushing. So you see here, guys, they had a pretty good sized tank to run that boiler. But I noticed down here on the ground, come over here and take a look at this. Right here is just a gorgeous example of galena, and this is where you're going to get your silver. Let's see if I can crack off the end of that. So
so I can show you a nice piece. See how that all flakes off there? That's still pretty tough. Anyways, not able to quite get that. But you get the idea. That's where your lead and your silver is coming from, right there. All right, now take a look at this. Now, here's a primary example, guys. Remember, if you go back, I don't know, was it a month or so ago when I was talking about creating the new gantry system for old Bob? Well, here's a good example right here. What we have is a vertical shaft that probably goes down 200 or 300 feet. And this would be a perfect situation for that gantry system. But without ropes or some way of holding the rope on center of the shaft, so that you don't get a bunch of rocks falling on your head while you're going down this thing, this wouldn't be a safe mine to go into today. But we're going to see if we can't find something better. Alright guys, before we head on over into this next mine, I wanted to point something out to you. Take a look here. We've got 3 piles of rocks outside of the mine. Now, this has either been done by the miners themselves that were working in this mine originally, or this has been done by latter prospectors, okay? Maybe people in the 70s and 80s. But nevertheless, I wanted to show this to you. So when you come to these mine sites, pay close attention to what's laying outside of the mine. Not only is there going to be a waste rock pile, but sometimes you can find separation piles like what you see right here, okay? Here's a separation pile. This is ore they're putting in a pile that they would have taken off of the mountain, but they didn't, and it's still laying here to this very day. And from what I'm seeing here, it's just loaded full of silver sulfides. So you notice in this pile you can see all of the gray. So they're separating it out. Maybe this pile was for primarily silver, or they thought that there was more silver in this type of rock. But you come on over here, you've got another pile of rock, but you notice that there's a lot more quartz in here. And not only is there quartz, but there's vug. See the vug? That's calcite. Okay? Here's a bunch more vug. When you find vuggy quartz like this, okay, gold is going to run in with that. Look at all this beautiful, look at that piece. Isn't that pretty? You got quartz in there, some more vug pockets, okay? Vug is what you get when the sulfides release or come out of the rock, and they leave those little pockets. Now over here, here's another example. Here's another selected pile. Notice how this looks entirely different, but again, it's full of lots of pieces of vug right there. There's a nice piece. That's just gorgeous. So if you want silver and gold, this is what you should be taking off the mountain. Take it to your mill, crush it up, and put across your gravity separation tables. All right, let's head on inside. All right, what do we have here? Okay, we're coming up to a, looks like a T. Yep, we got a drift going left and one going right. Let's go down this right-hand drift first. Now you can already see the vein that they're working off the hill. It's really evident right here. Look, see the angle? it's running that way. And that's why when you go higher up on this hill, there's an incline shaft that drops in and meets up with this addit that we're coming into right now. We're running down on that angle. Now if you look down here on the floor, there is some scat down here that's rather large. Let me show you this. This is rather large to be coyote scat. This it wouldn't surprise me if this could be mountain lion. Let's keep going. Well, we're coming into a bunch of pack rat thorns here. Got to be careful. Look, we've got an old table in here, but I want to try to get around all these cholla needles first. Boy, those things are just nasty. There we go. Yep, and we're coming into the incline shaft right here. There we go. Real good. Fantastic. Oh, that's pretty rickety. But there is a drift right down there. I wonder if we can safely get to that drift. It cuts off. It looks like it cuts off to the left. That's pretty sketchy. Let's see. All right. Well, let's see. If that was going to shake loose, it would have shook loose by now. Oh, wait a minute. We got one more board there doing its thing. Okay. I don't want that thing coming down on my head. See that board right there? That one that's about ready to come off? I don't want that coming down on my head. There it goes. Yeah, that would have been painful. Okay. Much better. I like that. Let's see what we have down here. I want to see, this ladder looked real good, but this one, that's highly questionable. Let's see if we can see how that works. Problem is that thing bowed up. I'm gonna have to get down on this this thing here. There we go. Ouch, got a big old cholla in my, there. Well, I think we can make this work. We're gonna have to do a few modifications to the ladder system. So give me a moment and I'll see what I can do to rearrange this ladder so we can get a little bit deeper in this mine. Maybe we can find a drift. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Here's the situation. There's no way we're going to be able to get down there. Without climbing gear and a rope. You would need a harness. The ladder, I can get about halfway, but after that, it's just too broken up. It's too darn dangerous. We would definitely need a harness and a rope to go any further. But even if we had that, this is still super dangerous. There's all kinds of rocks and debris falling away from the collar as you work your way down this thing. So there's an incredibly high risk of something falling down and hitting you on top of the head. So we may have to put this one off for another day. Eventually when we start getting into the ropes and things like that. But we've got more mines around here that we can jump into today. Let's go to site number 3 and see what we can find over there. All right, so we worked our way further on down this really nasty wash, doing a lot of rock crawling just to get here. Up above me, we've got 2 shafts, but I don't know if they're going to be vertical or inclined. We'll have to see when we get up there. But for right now, down here in this wash, right behind me, we do have an addit. So let's go see what this mine's all about. As always, the first thing you do going into these is check for rattlesnakes. Okay. Well, we probably have some modern day prospectors up in here. Look, they left some water. We'll just have to see what we find. Oh, it's getting pretty batty. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Well, I don't see right now where they're actually following a vein. If I see something, I'll point it out to you. Look what we have here. There's a sack of ammonium nitrate right there. See the prills? That's ammonium nitrate. Mix that with another component and touch it off with a third component and it goes boom. Well, now I am starting to see where they're following the vein. Okay, now clearly look at here. See the hanging wall here? And then the foot wall is down there. It's kind of low, you can barely make it out. But there's definitely a vein right through here that they're chasing. And oh, there's just a bunch of bats. But we may have a drift going to the left. Let's see. All right, well, before we go left, up in there, let's continue on this way and see if this keeps going or it just comes to an end. Oh, no. See, take a look way up in there. Take a look, see? And that, look at the size of that pile of guano right there. We're not going to go any further, guys, because I don't want to chase the bats out towards the portal. I want to keep them up in here. All right, let's turn around. Okay. Let's stay low. Stay real low. And the bats should just go right over the top of our head. Yeah, we don't want to go any further. Take a look up in there. See? No sense in going any further. All right, let's get out of this mine. All it is full of bats, guys. Boy, talk about a lot of bats. Oh, geez. Yeah, get out of that mine. All right. Well, like I said, we got 2 more up on the hill. Let's head up there and see what those are all about. Okay, made it to the top of this hill. Well, not quite to the top, about halfway up. Now, there should be a shaft of some sort up here. Let's see what we can find. Yeah, indeed, there used to be a head frame here. And yep, we've got ourselves a decline. Actually, I'm sorry, an incline shaft right there. Take a look down in there. Okay, let me get a few things ready and I'll take you guys down there. Let's see what we can find. All right, so I wiggled my way down this incline here. It's really sketchy. I mean, really sketchy. Oh, and the best part, if you look right, let me try to point it out to you. Right here, right there, that's a rattlesnake skin. So you might say I had my reservations about coming down in here, but I wanted to see if this was truly choked off or if it went any further. And indeed, the incline is choked off right down there in the bottom. I thought there might have been a drift going off to the left past those stalls, but no, it doesn't. This mine is completely choked off. We're not going to be able to get into it. Okay, I'm going to head back out of here. As you can see, it was pretty darn tight to get in here. Oh, goodness. Especially when you're a chunk like me. Okay. Well, all right, guys. That's going to have to do it for this weekend's episode. I appreciate you coming along. It's too bad we couldn't get into that incline shaft. That would have been really cool. But that's the kind of stuff that this channel is working its way up towards. So far, with the help of with you guys and the merch sales, etc., we've been able to purchase a new drone, some new camera equipment, and we're well on our way to buying the climbing gear that we need to start getting into locations like that, and I'm really excited to do so. All right, so we're going to get on out of here. Thanks again for coming along, and I'll see you again next weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.